Please, Isaac. Don't go! Hello, I am the Irish guy, and okay then. Yeah, today I'm gonna grade every Premier League club's most recent transfer decision. Right, let's go. Arsenal Victor Gyökeres C+. So it's official then. The saga is over, and Victor Gyökeres is back in England. And isn't it funny how he never actually faced any consequences for acting like a big baby brat in Portugal? Honestly, there's a way to leave a football club. But this guy was so desperate for this Arsenal move, so desperate to stand in the middle of that Emirates Stadium swinging from a bottle of KSI Spit, that he literally chose to stop turning up for work. Imagine having a ridiculous 54-goal season and then choosing to burn your Lisbon legend status in a can of 7-Up. He was so determined to do this. He even dumped his Portuguese girlfriend to squeeze through this move. Which seems like the opposite of the last time he moved to England, because when he joined Brighton in 2018, he actually managed to get his childhood sweetheart into the Brighton women's team too. Yeah, they broke up and she now plays for Spurs. Look, how he went about getting this Arsenal move was absolute garbage behavior. But is he the guy? I don't know. Okay, because his numbers in Portugal were immense. But UEFA ranks the Portuguese league even lower than the Dutch one. And we've seen just how many pony frauds have been burped out of the Eredivisie. Look, for 64 million, he is worth the risk. But do I think he's gonna be some beastly goal-scoring freak, scoring 1 and 1? No. But I see him being the modern day Podolski. 15 goals a season. An upgrade on Gabriel Jesus, sure. But I genuinely think the club should have paid big for Ivan Toney at 27 instead. Aston Villa, Dominic Calvert-Lewin D-. Aston Villa fans must be bored. Sure, they managed to keep hold of most of their stars, but they've been about as active in this transfer window as a dead Santa Claus. Villa have done zilch, but apparently they've entered the race for Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Apparently in a fight with Champions League Newcastle and AC Milan. I'm sorry, AC Milan? Is this like back when the media tried to pretend that the AC Milan wanted Jeff Hendrick too? How are we living in a world where Christian Eriksen is getting embarrassing contract offers from Wrexham, which honestly would be like a former big name pop star now getting asked out by Thugden, whilst a broken dishwasher like Calvert-Lewin has his pick of Eddie Howe, Unai Emery, and Max Allegri. Just nonsense. And yeah, if this happens, then this would stink of when Champions League chasing Aston Villa signed a 3-goal a season Emil Heskey on a free, all the way back in 2009, whose legacy at Villa did nothing other than make KSI famous. Sorry, but this one is a D-. It's a transfer target about as exciting as if your mum told you were having baked beans for dinner. Bournemouth, Ilyas Barney D. Apparently this one is a done deal. Bournemouth have now cashed in on their other centre-back star, Ilyas Barney, agreeing a £50 million deal with PSG. Yeah, in what other universe did you ever think that little old Bournemouth would be selling their centre-back partnership to Real Madrid and PSG in the same summer window? Oh yeah, if Bournemouth could pocket £50 million for Zabarnyi, it is good business, but it is completely risky. So completely rip your whole defence apart. If I'm a Bournemouth fan, then this is a bit worrying. Brentford, Johan Wissa B. Brentford are in an absolutely hideous, horrendous position. Come on, to lose your star manager, your goalkeeper, your captain, and your best player in one window is bad enough. But now your current best player is demanding to leave after a 19-goal season. Who can blame Johan Wissa? He's currently being told to take instructions from a managerial baby. Keith Andrews has more experience of being a pundit than a manager, as I've spent more time eating yogurt off the pavement than Andrews has managing an actual match. And yeah, Wissa is being offered Champions League football at Newcastle. The Magpies have had a £25 million bid rejected, which is fair enough, but Wissa has now told the Beast chairman that he's not going to play for them again if they don't let him leave. He's prepared to just munch on cookies on the couch for the next year. I'm sorry, but Wissa is demonstrating the maturity levels of Tommy Pickles. Brentford are in an awful spot, but if I'm a B, then you should wait for Newcastle to pocket some Isa cash and then try and squeeze as much money as you can out of them for this Dr. Congo International. So rejecting the bid, it's actually sensible. Brighton, Perverse Esteban C+. Okay, firstly, I have to say that it absolutely makes my soul sick to see Evan Ferguson score 4. Yes, 4 on his Roma debut. That was more beautiful than a fat rainbow. But no, the last thing the Brighton have done in this window is sell their 27-year-old Ecuadorian international left-back Perverse Esteban to AC Milan for £17 million. Not a bad move for a guy who's never allowed to make his debut in his 4 years at Watford. Yeah, I'm guessing most of you didn't even know he was at Vicarage Road, but yeah. All of their crazy coaches clearly decided he was no better than duck cheese and put him out on 5 different loans. Look, he's a good defender, sure, but he's just become the 11th biggest sale in Brighton's history. It's good money for an aging left back, so yeah, good deal. Burnley, James Trafford F. Burnley must be absolutely fuming. Out of every club in the world, the one they did not want coming in for their star goalie James Trafford was Man City, because they're powerless to keep him and have to sell him on the cheap. Come on, Burnley were wanting close to £40 million off of Newcastle for their England international. But instead, City have exercised their buyback clause. It's technically a £31 million deal. So technically, that would make Trafford the most expensive British goalkeeper to ever live. But because of City's sell-on clause, they managed to squeak it down to just 27 mil. It's a World Cup year, and Trafford is choosing to sit on the bench. Considering Ederson's move to Galatasaray has crumbled into cookie crumbs. I mean, didn't Trafford leave the Etihad to actually play matches? Why is he taking a backward step to just be the FA Cup goalie? I don't get it. And as for Burnley, it's a complete nightmare. They need a goalie fast. Chelsea, João Felix B. So it's official. João Felix was a big fuss over nothing. Isn't it absolutely crazy that this Portuguese waste of time is still the 4th biggest transfer of all time? After leaving Benfica for Atletico Madrid in a horrid £112 million deal in 2019. Utterly insane how that Portuguese club managed to shake down Atletico for that much money. I can only assume the Atleti transfer negotiation team was made up of monkeys that had escaped the zoo. And once this deal is completed, a £43.7 million switch to Al Nassr, then, I mean, when you combine all of his transfer fees, then Felix will be the 3rd most expensive footballer of all time, only behind Neymar and Lukaku. But his career has been completely expensive snot. He should have never been bought by Chelsea. Never, never, never. Especially not after that pudding average loan spell under Potter. Seriously, it would have been a bit like Chelsea paying £40 million to bring back Alexander Pato when he was a forgettable gerbil unknown at Stamford Bridge. So yeah, to get most of your money back on this absolutely soggy toffee pop, well done, Chelsea. Crystal Palace, Evan Gessan. Nothing much is going on at Crystal Palace, but apparently they're closing in on a deal for Nice forward Evan Gessan, a 24-year-old Ivory Coast international winger off the back of a 12-goal season in Ligue 1. No, it's decent squad depth. I'll give it a C. Everton, Malik Fofana, A+. Everton are on the verge of a madness. That's when Nottingham Forest came in for Lyon's absolute wonderkid winger Malik Fofana. You could smell his disappointment from here. This 20-year-old Belgian international is absolutely seen as European gold, and he had elite clubs in Europe fishing for his signature. So when he heard that the club in the Conference League wanted him, he probably silently vomited in his mouth. But yeah, now Everton are in advanced negotiations with Lyon for this kid. Bear in mind, Liverpool have been wanting to sign this guy. So if the Toffees can come in and nick him, it'll be absolutely incredible. Fulham, Benjamin Lecomte, C. Who cares? Fulham have managed to convince 34-year-old Montpellier goalkeeper Benjamin Lecomte, an uncapped French journeyman, to join them for less than 500,000 quid. But he's off the back of a nightmare season. He lost 13 of his last 14 Ligue 1 matches, as the former champions of France were relegated. So I'm guessing he now must have the confidence of an ugly swan. But look, he was clearly good enough to sit on Atletico Madrid's bench for a year not too long ago, so I'm sure he's perfectly capable and adequate to eat Kit Kats on Fulham's bench. But honestly, it's the most forgettable signing of the window. Leeds, Lucas Perry A. Yeah, here we've got Leeds United signing a goalie from France. And they've actually brought in this one to be the number 1. For all, Ilian Melier is probably crying into an egg sandwich because it's official. His time at Leeds is done. His position as number 1 goalkeeper is effectively being crushed into banana sludge. In comes 27-year-old Brazil international Lucas Perry from Lyon for £15.6 million. It's weird, he's already been in the Premier League before, on loan at Crystal Palace, all the way back in 2019. Never played. Roy Hodgson probably doesn't even remember who he is. Then again, that poor old chap probably doesn't remember how many fingers he's got on his hands. But yeah, I think it's a pretty excellent deal. Because Melier is talented, sure, but I mean, he's got more mistakes in him than an I Know What You Did Last Summer script. I think Perry is going to be class. One of the signings of the summer, Liverpool, Luis Diaz, B+. Look, Luis Diaz is a very good player. I'm not going to argue with that. And he's been absolutely fantastic in the Liverpool shirt. And to be fair, his form never really dipped that much, which is very impressive considering his personal life stunk of a Taken 4 script. To be fair, Diaz has knuckled down, never complained, and he's been a very good, solid player. And he's helped win the Premier League title. But they've now sold him to Bayern Munich for £65 million. And I've got to say, this is a brilliant chess piece. You're sacrificing your castle to try and take out the king. Because lads, £65 million is okay money for Diaz, but guess what? That's about 50% of an Isak paycheck. They're halfway there. They're halfway there to lodging a bid for Isak. This deal absolutely scares me. Because yeah, you're losing a very good player, but you're going to use the money to try and get a world-class one. Oh, Man City, James Trafford B+. Look, Man City like goalkeepers who know Man City football. It's why Pep Guardiola is perfectly happy to keep the same number 1 9 seasons in a row. And here's the thing, Ederson is surprisingly only 31. Doesn't it feel like he should be about 35 at least? Look, I think he's got about 4 years left in the Man City tank as the number 1. And yeah, City have just done what they did 10 years ago and signed Trafford. Back in 2015, they got him when he was 12, and he spent 8 years in the City Academy. He knows how Pep Guardiola likes to play. You know what? This is long-term thinking from both, because he's probably going to become the Man City number 1 when he's 25, 26. And realistically, he could be their first choice goalie for a solid 10 years. So actually, I think this is good business after all. Man United, Marcus Rashford B. Yeah, Man United have gotten Marcus Rashford out on loan to Barcelona, and to be honest, this is what you had to do. You've got other ones that you need to clear away, like Alejandro Garnacho and Jadon Sancho, the other troublesome bad boys. Rashford wasn't really a bad boy, but he was clearly just didn't have the work ethic for what Ruben Amorim wants, i.e. someone who will actually train like he cares. And now he's got himself a dream move to Barcelona, something he doesn't really deserve, but look, it's a win-win for both parties. And yeah, I mean, you're not going to get very much for him. I think the buy option next summer is about £25 million. So Man United will feel like kicking themselves in the ankles when that goes through, because at one point, didn't this guy have a £100 million price tag? But yeah, look, his time at Old Trafford is up. So to get him on a loan and to get Barcelona paying his wages, I think this is good business. Newcastle, Aaron Ramsdale C. Really? Really? Yeah. Newcastle have opened talks with Championship club Southampton for Aaron Ramsdale, a goalkeeper whose career has been in crisis. This guy is apparently keen to join. Of course he is. The guy loves to live out of a suitcase, because this would be his 5th permanent move since 2020. What goalkeeper moves 5 times in 5 years? Goalkeepers are supposed to pick a club and stay there. Look, he's the club's plan B. After being in talks with Burnley for James Trafford for literal years, well, now he's going back to Man City, so the response is to get another England international, Ramsdale. He's a decent goalkeeper, he is. But for the last 2 seasons, he's just sat on Arsenal's bench for a year, and last season picked the ball out of his net what felt like millions of times for Southampton, representing the 2nd worst team in Premier League history, and this guy's been relegated over and over and over again. Look, I know he's a cheeky chappy and got decent banter. He's the modern day Ben Foster. But, I mean, it's a marginal upgrade on Pope. Like, actual millimeters. It's a fine signing, but meh. Having a goalkeeping roster of Nick Pope, Aaron Ramsdale and John Ruddy. All 3 have played for England, sure, but about as exciting as milk. Nottingham Forest, Dan and Doy C+. Well, not only have Nottingham Forest trapped Morgan Gibbs-White into a new contract, the most impressive part is they've actually made him look thankful and grateful for the deal. Yeah, mate, you clearly accepted personal terms at Spurs. I'm not sure what's gone on there, but I really hope someone at Forest hasn't threatened to eat his dog. But look, Forest are currently working on a deal for Bolton's 24-year-old winger Dan and Doy, who just became a Bolton legend for life by scoring the winning goal in the Coppa Italia final against AC Milan to win them their first trophy in 51 years. Look, this is an impressive deal if it goes through. He's clearly Anthony Elanga's replacement, but will cost about £40 million. He's a good player who Napoli also want, but lads, I still think he's a downgrade on Elanga. It'll be a good signing, but I generally think just good. Sunderland, Granit Xhaka A+. I'm confused. I am so confused. In what world did anyone think that Sunderland would even try and steal Bayer Leverkusen's rockstar captain Granit Xhaka? And what absolutely makes no sense to me is that he's making this move happen. He's having a medical tomorrow and is about to commit the next 4 years of his life to Sunderland. This former Arsenal captain, someone who recently became a Bundesliga invincible, he has taken one look at Erik ten Hag and decided, oh no, I would rather play for Sunderland. He's only 32. I don't get it. He's still one of the best players in Germany. This is a sensational buy for Sunderland. Like I said that Sunderland wouldn't win a single match all season. And yet they're signing this guy for £17 million. Somebody who would breeze into most midfields in the league. This is a Champions League level footballer. Honestly, this is the most impressed I've been by a Sunderland signing since they got their hands on Djibril Cissé in 2008. I remember being in shock when they stole this France international striker out of Marseille after a 22-goal season in France. But getting Xhaka now, wow! I am in shock. A 32-year-old Xhaka is better than a 20-year-old Jordan Henderson. So honestly, this is going to be the best Sunderland midfielder I've ever seen. Wow. Tottenham, João Palhinha B+. Yeah, Tottenham are trying to sign a granddad. Pretty much, because João Palhinha is 30. In Tottenham terms, he might as well be a 65-year-old fisherman with back problems and a worrying prostate, because Spurs haven't paid a transfer fee for a player over 30 since Fernando Llorente in 2017. Honestly, if the rumors are true and Thomas Frank is really trying to take Bayern Munich midfielder João Palhinha, then it would be like seeing Leonardo DiCaprio out to dinner with a woman who has wrinkles on her face, because I'm pretty sure that man has never dated a woman old enough to remember Malcolm in the Middle. Look, Spurs want this Portuguese international defensive midfield destroyer Palhinha, but he was excellent at Fulham, yes. But does he really want to quit his dream Bayern move after just 17 Bundesliga matches? Does he really want to go back to London after just a year? Swapping his dream for the team who just finished 4th bottom of the league? Really? West Ham, Callum Wilson A. Yeah. Does anybody think Callum Wilson is beginning to regret leaving Newcastle so soon? But look, he's already gone and agreed personal terms with West Ham. And I mean, if he actually takes Mikel Antonio's job and the West Ham board ruthlessly wheel this Jamaican international out the door, it's going to make their podcast viciously awkward. A bit like if you asked Brian and Lawrence to do an episode of Truth News Now. Yeah, someone's getting a coffee lunch in their face. I think this is a no-brainer from West Ham. And it was always meant to be because Wilson has an outstanding record against his club. 12 starts against West Ham. 12 goals too. And he is so desperate to join that 100 goal club before he retires. So he's going to be hungry for goals. I think he becomes the Hammers' first choice striker this season. And he's going to be what Danny Ings was supposed to be for this club, before he instead chose to melt into lumpy orange juice. Seriously, I think Wilson is going to be very good business. 13 goals this season, and by next May, he's going to end the season on 101 Premier League goals. Newcastle should have kept him. Wolves, John Arias, B+. And yet, Wolves have paid Fluminense an initial £15 million for this sparkling maverick winger. People call him the Colombian Pele. He was bigged up at the Club World Cup by people like Kaká. He won 3 Man of the Match awards and was voted in the team of the tournament. He was an absolute Fluminense superstar. So yeah, he is a little old now at nearly 28, but I think this is a perfect short-term, quick fix replacement for Mateus Cunha. Yeah, solid B+. Anyway, that's the end of the video. Let me know, how would you grade your latest transfer decision? Let's hope Isak goes nowhere. But anyway, that's the end of the video. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think? If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, share, and ways. I'll talk to you in a while. Guys, we're at the finish line. We're getting there. We're slowly getting there. Oh, by the way, don't worry. The forfeits are coming next season. Don't worry about that. Nearly there. Nearly there.